Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The Polish Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki, held a video conference with the Prime Ministers of Greece, Slovakia and Slovenia and the President of the European Council, Charles Michel. The goal of the meeting was to exchange views before the session of the European Council planned for December the 11th and December the 12th. Matters discussed included how to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, climate change and the tying of the European Union budget to the rule of law. The meeting between Prime Minister Morawiecki and his counterparts from Greece, Slovakia and Slovenia took place via a video conference. The President of the European Council also attended the meeting. The talks concerned the coronavirus pandemic and the EU budget conditions. I don't think there will be a veto in the end. The European Union was made to find compromises. That's why we have the next several weeks to negotiate with other countries. Regarding Viktor Orban, I think we can count on his support, just as he can count on us supporting Hungary. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban came to Warsaw on Monday to meet Prime Minister Morawiecki. According to unofficial sources, 7 EU member states criticised the mechanism tying the EU budget to the rule of law. Political scientist Professor Kazimierz Kik believes such a veto would not be beneficial to Poland. I believe that there won't be a veto. When it comes to sovereignty, the road to sovereignty leads through a competitive economy. Only when we have a healthy economy can we strengthen our sovereignty. To veto the budget would mean losing the funds necessary to rebuild our economy after the pandemic. This matter was further discussed during this evening's session of the United Right Coalition. The prosecutors of the Institute of National Remembrance are planning to remove the immunity of a Supreme Court judge, Józef Iwulski, for his unlawful decision in 1982 to convict a 21-year-old worker for distributing anti-Polish People's Republic government leaflets. The Branch Commission for the Prosecution of Crimes Against the Polish Nation intends to bring charges against him. According to journalists from the Gazeta Polska newspaper, Iwulski also defended the retirement privileges of former secret police officers of the Polish People's Republic. According to the newspaper, during the adoption of the September resolution, Iwulski decided to recognise, out of sequence, the legal issue concerning appeals against the provisions of the Ministry of Public Securities Act. Later, he would not allow himself to be removed from the chamber of which he was in charge. In the past, Józef Iwulski also served as an internal military service officer trained by communist counterintelligence. Nearly 1 million confirmed cases of coronavirus infection have been reported in Poland since the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic. The Polish Ministry of Health reported 9,105 new infections in the country in the last 24 hours. According to the latest data from the Polish Ministry of Health, there are 9,105 new coronavirus infections in the country. The largest number of infections, 1,200, was reported in the Kuławian voivodeship and the smallest, 187, in the Lubusz region. 449 people have died of coronavirus and coexisting diseases. The total number of COVID-19 infections reported in Poland since the beginning of the epidemic is nearly 1 million, and the total number of deaths is over 17,500. Thanks to the PKN Orlen company, a new temporary hospital for COVID-19 patients has been established in the city of Płock. At the moment, the hospital has 100 beds and 20 ventilators, but its resources will be gradually increased. PKN Orlen is a socially responsible company. It is a leading company in the Polish economy, which also meets social challenges. During the first wave of the pandemic, we immediately came to the people's aid. Orlen allocated over 120 million zloty for aid, that is, the purchase of medical equipment, protective clothing and ambulances. During both the first wave of the pandemic and the second, after the Prime Minister's decision, we immediately came to the aid of people. Someone might say, what's the point of establishing another temporary hospital? The pandemic is in retreat and the number of new infections has decreased. The answer is simple. We have to be prepared for everything. Just as we allocate money for our army in peacetime, we must have hospitals at our disposal in case there is a crisis. I hope we will not have to use this building, but a responsible government must be prepared for a possible crisis. We don't have to be ashamed of ourselves when we compare Poland to other countries, especially much wealthier countries. Taking into account Poland's population, the number of deaths is much lower than in other countries, and it shows how well we are coping with the current situation. Every death is sad, but our number of deaths is a number that many other countries would want to have. They are primed and ready, and they inspire more and more young people. The number of those volunteering for the Territorial Defence Force keeps rising. Our reporters took a closer look at the formation operating in Poland for only 3 years. This is how soldiers of the Territorial Defence Force, or WOT, train. This fifth type of Polish armed forces was established in 2017 on the initiative of the former Minister of National Defence, Antoni Macierewicz. Today, the soldiers of WOT actively help in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. However, the idea for this formation met much criticism when it was being founded 3 years ago.
Często atakowano powołanie Wojsk Obrony Terytorialnej.
The idea of the Territorial Defence Force was often criticised in various ways and on various levels. It was even criticised by now retired generals who tried to present it as detrimental to the strength of our military. Even now, despite the pandemic, more and more people volunteer to join the formation. Around 5,000 are currently undergoing the recruitment process. The soldiers of the WOT, apart from their regular duties, also donate blood and plasma, which is so essential in treating COVID-19. Since March, we have donated more than 5,000 litres of blood. We began donating plasma in November, and so far we have managed to donate more than 20 litres. We have around 900 soldiers who recovered from the virus, and they have been systematically donating plasma. In cooperation with the regular army, they also constantly support the medical services. Every day, we support from 600 to 700 hospitals in the country. We are helping in several hundred sanitary, epidemiological stations, performing tests and so on. At the present time, there are 26,000 volunteers serving in the Territorial Defence Force. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.